So Eddie Hearn said if Anthony Joshua is to fight again this year, it would literally be as a run-out fight, which, to those of you who don't know, basically saying it would be a tune-up slash a stay busy fight. Which at this point, this Anthony Joshua does not need that. You just throw him back in there with the big names, or you either do that or do nothing, right? Because he doesn't need to be fighting the likes of the guys that are currently being put in those sort of conversations with him. Some of these guys, okay, so there was three names that were given. There was Makhmudov, Martin Bakole, and Tony Yoka. Of course, Makhmudov just coming off that dominant win over against Dave Allen in Sheffield. That being said, he's still not an amazing boxer. Joshua is 35 and has been stopped a number of times at this point. So there is that argument to be made that, okay, Makhmudov might get outboxed by Anthony Joshua, but Joshua's still there for the taking, right? Joshua's still very hittable. And if Makhmudov couldn't stay in the fight for long enough and, take some of AJ's shots and still be around and have enough power deep into the fight, mid-range, back end of the fight, he could even rock Joshua, maybe stop him. I don't think he would, because I think Anthony Joshua is a good enough boxer to sort of withstand that, and has got good enough boxing fundamentals to be able to stay safe, at least early on against the Makhmudov, and then can start to work his magic in the back end of the fight and outbox him. Not that AJ's a particularly great boxer, but he's better than a Makhmudov, right? And AJ in his own right, and this is something that I always find people forgetting about AJ. AJ's got power too. Like, it's not like AJ's just this guy who, if he can't outbox you, you can't beat him. AJ's got power. AJ can stop dudes, right? He's 24, he's 28-4 with 25 knockouts. The dude can bang, right? And had Andy Ruiz in trouble in that first fight. He lost, but had him in trouble. Rocked Daniel Dubois. He was having some success in that Daniel Dubois fight. Ultimately, Dubois landed the cleaner shots and was able to get him out of there and rock him. And you know what I mean? Because Daniel Dubois is a huge puncher as well. And AJ's not got the best chin. But AJ's a big puncher too. Now, Makhmudov, like I said, I think AJ would beat Makhmudov pretty easily, in my opinion. Then you've got Martin Bakole. Now, Martin Bakole is not a tune-up fight. Like, it's kind of crazy that he's even in these conversations, because Martin Bakole is not a tune-up fight. Martin Bakole is a guy who is fringe world level, right? Fringe world level, in and around the top 10, top 15, that if AJ underestimates him, if AJ doesn't come in, doesn't, cross the T's and dot the I's, Bakole can beat Anthony Joshua. He wouldn't be pretty. Bakole's not as sharp, not as crisp of a puncher as a Daniel Dubois, but he's clubbing. He's concussive. He's a dull puncher. He will be applying pressure. That being said, Bakole's not great defensively in terms of you can land this on this guy. You can stand in the pocket, rip body shots, and you can cause some damage to that pot belly. And that's what Anthony Joshua should be looking to do. I think that's what he would do. I think he'd, early on in that fight, get in the pocket, land, do some body work, lower the hands, and then probably take out Martin Bakole. I do fancy AJ to beat him, but Bakole's no easy customer. Bakole's no tune-up fight. Martin Bakole's the type of fighter where you beat him, you're either next fight's for a world title or you have one more fight and then you fight for a world title. That's sort of Martin Bakole's level, in my opinion. And to be fair, maybe that's the sort of situation, that's the sort of level that Anthony Joshua's at the moment. He could fight a Martin Bakole, beat him. Then maybe he gets a Caballero fight or a Joseph Parker rematch. And if he was to beat one of those guys, then at that point, you're looking at AJ Usyk 3, assuming Usyk's still fighting by that point. He might not be. And I don't think anyone actually wants to see Usyk v AJ 3. But Bakole's a good name, but a tough fight. And out of the three names, probably is the toughest fight. And then you've got Tony Yoka, who in my opinion is, even though he's got amateur pedigree, he was an Olympian, but he's hittable, he's beatable. Again, he's probably the biggest name and the most winnable fight for Anthony Joshua. Right, where Tony Yoka, like I said, he's a name who people will know. This dude was a former Olympian, but he's not an amazing world-class boxer. Guys can beat him, and Anthony Joshua would beat him. So, out of those, assuming if Makhmudov wanted a pretty quick turnaround, and I'm assuming he probably would, because even that fight against Dave Allen didn't take a ton of damage. Dave Allen didn't really even throw that many punches, it felt like. So he probably could do a December O2 card, maybe, but I don't know, because I know they were saying if it's going to be a run-out fight, a Mahmoudov v AJ fight could be a headliner very easily for Matchroom. Very easily would be a headliner on the O2 for them. And I don't know what cards they've got booked for December, so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'd be curious to know what you guys think of those three names, and do you think any of those three would be good fits for Anthony Joshua's next fight? Makhmudov, Bakoli, or Tony Yoka? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.